Welcome everybody to season 4. We came back. We got renewed again. I know that's crazy. These people just keep renewing us. So this is season 4 of the TAM weekly workshop series. Well, can't speak today. Again, based on feedback from everybody, kind of what different feedback of what people were looking for. We're going to have kind of a targeted approach every week. So this week obviously is water valve and flood sensors and flood prevention. And then we're going to have some additional ones, exterior protection, commercial protection, some cool enhancements coming to the IQ Hardwire Power G, some perimeter protection. And then we're going to start talking about the all new IQ Lockdown in the 6th episode, we'll call it. So before we get started, I'm just going to launch a few quick polls for you. And we'll run these quickly because, Scott and Pierre have a very full agenda to show you today. So launch this really quickly. Have you attended one of our previous workshops? It's a yes or my first time. For all those first timers, it's good to see you. All right, so yeah, about 60% first time attendees. That's awesome. Please, Mark or Joel, if you could drop the link in the chat for any of the previous weekly workshops, that would be amazing. Since we have about 2/3 for the first time attending one of these workshops, so you'll be able to catch up on our previous ones. So I'm going to close that poll off, and we'll launch this one. What percentage of the time do you currently install floods? All right, let me see. Okay, so about 70% of less than 10%, and then a mix between the other ones. Right, lots of people voting nice and quick. Lots of people still dropping in. Please do find the questions box and drop in where you're calling from. And Joel, Mark, or myself are gonna say hi. But let us know where you're calling from. And if you have any questions during the presentation, again, please use the questions that questions box, and we'll be able to answer those questions or bring them up live. For Pierre and Scott to answer. Okay, only 3 more quick polls. Do you currently install a smart water valve solution today? All right, there we go. It's about a quarter. Yeah, about a quarter of you are currently installing a smart water valve solution. So I think, what you're going to see today, with our flood sensors and our the IQ water valve, hopefully we can get that changed a little bit and get some people, looking after their customers, from a flood protection standpoint. So I'm going to just close that poll off. Thank you for that. And this is a question. Have you or someone experienced water damage to a home or business?
Okay, hey Neil, do you know anybody?
I may know someone, and IQ water valve saved the day. But yeah, but 90% of people, know or have experienced water damage to a home or business. That's great. All right, just a few more seconds. Just get those last few votes in. Yeah, 88%. There we go. And here's a nice easy one. Are you planning on attending ISE West? The reason we're asking is obviously we're in our planning stages for what we're doing at ISE, and we're trying to get just a better understanding of how many of our partners are planning to attend. So yeah, it's kind of what I expected. There's a lot of undecided. But about 15% saying yes, and a lot of undecided people right now. So we'll just we'll close that one off. I will shut up and hand this off to your hosts, Scott Dry and Pierre Vachon. You're lucky you've got all Canadians today. So there we go.
This is the Canadian Olympic team right here. I'm going out for a skate right after this. All right, thanks everybody for joining us. My name's Scott. I'm the Western Territory Accounts Manager for Canada. And we have Pierre. Go ahead, Pierre, you can.
Yeah, I'm Pierre Vachon. I'm the TAM Director for Eastern Canada, covering Quebec and the Maritimes. Happy to be on this call, on this webinar.
So one thing out there is I find that we come from a Berg world a lot of times, and we don't talk about those extra, 24-hour monitoring devices. So, we think about it, and when we talk about floods, first thing we kind of think about is the damage of walls, floors, carpets, and things of that. Let's put in our minds as well, how about the things that people want to reserve memories and things like that. So those things cannot be replaced. And so, you know, these are great. We have great options here for you to start talking to that end user when you're talking to them about Berg, talk to them about other things. So here's a little graph we got from Forbes. As you can see here, how much water damage is, including damage from freezing, is one of the most common homeowners insurance claims. And again, down there you can see, so we put this both in US and Canadian, so you can see about $11,000 in US and $14,000 in Canadian. And again, remember, this doesn't even include the memories like, you know, those hockey cards for me, or, you know, kids' pictures, things like that. So, I mean, something to really consider when you're talking to your customer. Where can these floods come from? So if we look around here, we got a few images. We've got bathtubs and showers. You got toilets. You got sinks. You got your dishwashers. I can talk about that with an experience. So about 5 years ago, I decided to develop my basement. I put a nice knockdown ceiling in. I went down there one day and I look up and there's a little water spot. Sure enough, my dishwasher is leaking. You know, and it's not only the damage of the ceiling that was kind of minor in a way. I didn't lose anything else. But it was a nuisance of having the construction work being done for the next 2-3 weeks after to kind of get that room back up. And I'm sure Neil can attend to that, is how much of a pain that can be as well. So washing machines, water heaters, burst pipes, that was, we've got a case study that we're sharing. Neil, we can talk about that another day too, where he's talked lots. There's videos out there about that one. And we're attaching that in here. And then sump pumps in my area. Lots of sump pumps. They run, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, and they run hard, and the next thing they quit. And then you got damage. So again, some of those things when you're walking around with that client, ask them those things. Like what is, you know, their expectations with that kind of stuff too. So we have solutions for you. So we have the ability to take our panels, be it the Qolsys or the DSC, and integrated with Alarm.com, you can take a flood sensor and now actually turn off that water shutoff. So we're gonna do a little bit more of a deep dive in there and look at that big blue stamp on the far right-hand corner. No plumber needed. I was a dealer for 7.5 years, and we used to do some water shutoffs. I had to contract a plumber. So when I contract that plumber to come in, I have to wait till he's done to go back out and link it to my system, or he, you know, calls and says I can't make it. Next thing you know, you got to make a second trip. So again, very simple installation. Here.
Up to me, I guess. So wanted to talk about the flood sensor, the PG985. We put an X in there. So you guys, I don't know where you all from, but I mean, in North America, we're on the 900 megahertz band. That's why it's going to be PG9985, but in other countries, they might have different bands. So I do have a 9985 with me here. So just wanted to go back to our technology or protocol PowerG, just to do a little recap of what we have to offer since about 7-8 years with DSC now, which is fully mixed with Qolsys Panel. So that protocol works on frequency hopping technology, first of all. So in North America, we're using from 912 to 918 band, 50 different bands hopping all the time, always looking for the best path between the device and the antenna. The range is fabulous. Again, either commercial, either residential, PowerG works almost everywhere. We're talking about 4 to 5 times the traditional security RF range that we've been having for many years now. Most of the dealers are now using PowerG, fully encrypted, 128-bit encrypted as well. So fully secure. You may have some customers asking for how secure is the technology. Remote adjustability. So those PowerG devices, they're fully programmable, adjustable depending on the device. Obviously, the flood sensor is an easy one. Two-way communication, so bidirectional from the device to the antenna. We call that transceiver. Adaptive transmission power. since they're always looking for the best path, we'll adapt the power between the device and the transceiver, always to get a longer life on batteries. So that's the basics of PowerG that we kind of highlighted over there. So going back to our flood sensor, so detects water and ground level, ideal for basements. That's one is in English, yachts, you guys say. Holiday house cottages. So it's covered 6 feet of wires between the sensor and the probe itself. So a lot of flexibility over there. Fully supervised. The probe is fully supervised by the unit. If it's somebody has to disconnect the cut, it's gonna send it full to the panel and to the central station. There's a also have a LED, so the installer can actually visualize the strength from the device to the panel. I already mentioned about the battery life being long, so we're talking about here about 8 years of battery life with typical usage. And the PowerG985 is fully compatible with our DAC Power Series Neo, Power Series Pro, Qolsys panels being the IQ2 Plus, because the Plus is compatible with PowerG, IQ Hub, and IQ4 panels. Next slide, Martin. So we thought about putting a couple of examples of how it's been programmed in the panel. So we picked a Qolsys panel. This is actually from an IQ4 screenshot. So where you can see the when you automatically enroll the device, you can see the device ID, the first 3 digits being the prefix to the ID. So panels know what kind of device it is. This panel partition, so the partition 1 service type obviously is a water one, sender group. On the Qolsys, so we're talking about group 38. Name, chime type, voice prompt, PowerG. This will automatically be there, and you can obviously pick the name. You can customize the name over there. So going on the right side, you got a screenshot of our DLS5 software, where the programming is a little bit different, but basically what we wanted to show you over there is the in the DSC word, we call that zone definition, which is in this case is 49. If you look on the left side, you'll see Qolsys sensor group, which is 38. A little bit of the difference. And then you see the device ID and zone being fully supervised from the panel.
Hey, Pierre, we're having a technical issue with your mic there. So what we might do is I'm going to just take over the next slide and we'll come back to the questions. We'll do safe questions. Yeah, your mic's kind of cracking. So
okay,
we'll come back at the end. Pierre's a wealth of knowledge. Sorry, it's just a technical issue there, and I'll just jump in. So next thing we're going to talk about is one of these pieces that can help prevent the water damages, and that's our IQ water valve. So again, that sticker I talked about, first thing, no plumber required, easy install. I mean, it's a couple clamps, and you slide the connection over the top of your ball valve. You can see there from the retrofit if it's a 1/4 turn ball valve, and it fits most pipes from a 1/2 inch to 1 1/4 inch. Rated for indoor and outdoor purposes as well. And we have some features there if it gets installed on the outdoor applications. Works great with the IQ panel, the Neo and the Pro series, and pairs quickly. It's got the Z-Wave Plus 700 technology in it, extended range and reliability and security. It's got an adaptive torque as well, and this is actually pretty scary the first time you install the thing. You will notice that the first time you go and put it in, it looks like it's just cranking on that ball valve. Don't sweat it, that's normal. Even Neil and I talked about it one time, and it's like, wow, has that got some torque on it? So one note, make sure you put it on the right way, because you don't want to flip it the wrong way. There's just a mental note for you. Automatic shutoff rules, we're going to go into that a little bit. And affordable, again, we were talking about costs. This unit is very affordable, and to not have the extra cost of a contractor coming in to do that install. Here's a little bit of this is right from the quick guide. Again, we're sharing this in the presentation, so feel free to go grab the document. So kind of quick, we won't spend lots of time here, but basically shut off your valve. You place the unit over top of the valve and you just like tighten it enough, but it doesn't have to be completely solid on the pipe just yet. And then you'll see that little fork. And then when you go to put that fork in, you put it right over the valve. And also we've now taken a little snapshot there. You can see there's that little spacer. So if you need that little spacer just to have a better connection with the fork, you can add that as well. Once you get it in place, then all it is tighten up those wing nuts there on the end. Once the fork's all lined up, tighten up those thumb screws and you're good to go. And then you can plug into the outlet. We just use a power supply and you plug it in and you're got your DC. Pairing with the panel. So this is a snapshot out of the IQ panel. So you go into the include mode as you would with most of your Z-Wave devices. If you haven't done our Z-Wave devices, please make sure to catch those videos we've done in the past. You're going to touch the sense button right on the front there 3 times. So there's a little green light that shines up. You hit it 3 times and that's how you're going to enable it. And then you're going to select that desired encryption. And we're going to talk about the S2 authenticated encryption here shortly with the DSK code, and then you can customize as well. If you ever need to, you can test the operation as well by just pushing that button, and that will open or close depending, and as well from the website. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So now with this new DSK, so inclusion. So now on the box, Pierre, do you have that box as well, if you don't mind showing it? We have a box, and on the box, so one thing you can do is just scan that code, and that's the key, and then that will put it in. If you don't have the box, that code is on the bottom of the unit as well, so you can get the first 5 digits and add it that way as well. Once you're done, you can customize it, label it as to whatever works best for you, and you're off to the running. An optional remote inclusion as well is through mobile tech. So you have the ability to actually use your app, and then you could scan the box as well. So this might come in handy as well for on a Neo or a Pro, or with the IQ panel as well. Setting up the rules.
Test with you, Scotty. Do you hear me well now?
Yeah, I hear you right now.
Is it cutting? Still cutting?
No, I think you're good. You want to take this one?
It's up to you if I take it over if you want.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, so if you hear me well, I'll keep on going to the next slide. So I'll give you a little break in there. So once you're fully installed and you're fully enrolled with Alarm.com, so I just wanted to give you a screenshot of what it looks like when it's fully enrolled with Alarm.com and you want to do your roles. So obviously it can be automatically shut off within case of an alarm. So where you go into your Alarm.com web interface, and then you can go under automation and then rules. Okay, so you can give it a name to your rule. You need to, when this event occur, obviously you can do pick from an alarm from the device itself. And then what the action you want to do, so close the valve. So you pick the valve in there. So most of the time you're only gonna have one in there at all time. So you have to create a rule for each flood sensor you would have in the house. And yeah, this is how you kind of build to the rule. You could also build another one in case somebody wants to, when they arm the system, to automatically close the valve. That's another option you have in the middle in here, if required. Scotty, we wanted to discuss about the option you have on your Alarm.com app on a quarterly schedule where you can do something on your app, right?
Yeah, so every month, a nice piece that Alarm.com's kind of built in is a regular maintenance, let's call it, of that ball valve. If any of you have tried to turn a ball valve after many, many years with corrosion and buildup, you'll find that it's pretty hard to turn. So with Alarm.com, roughly, I think it's every quarter, they're going to send you a little recommendation to test that valve. So what they'll do is just at the top of the home screen, when you're on your app, you just hit the button and it will open and close the ball valve and do a little test. So just to keep that ball valve fresh when you need to turn it.
So
Now,
the itself, you can't, oh, sorry about that. So you can actually control it from the IQ panel touchscreen. You can control it from the Alarm.com mobile app or the web page. You can also control it from the unit itself with that little touch sense button that's on the unit that you already talked about, Scott. So this is how you can actually control your valve. So we put a couple of screenshots over there of the different options you could have, and just a little green arrow to specify the touch button over there.
And you can deactivate that touch button. That's kind of what we were kind of showing, is that touch button can be deactivated in the case of installing in the outdoor application. So nobody just comes up and opens or closes your valve on you. So just going to touch on the kits that are available. We changed this around a little bit. So there was some confusion. I understand that the IQ water valve was either S-line version or Power G. That it's Z-Wave 700 series. So we have two kits though that are available for you. We have the IQ water valve with the S-line water sensors, and we have the Power G devices. So depending on what kit fits your bill, we have two kits. They're priced the same. Just depends. You get 3 in the one and 2 in the other. So this is another great resource for support. So I would say if you got your phones ready or whatever, there's a lot of dealers and staff on this team that will hop on there in the Facebook groups and feel free to help support you in those after-hour times, weekends, evenings, things like that. So if you need to, I would take a picture of these Facebook pages, and I would join them. You can even see at the bottom there, in the middle there, Neil is on our team here, and he's even replying on there. So you got great resources out there. So again, if you haven't taken a picture of this, I would suggest you do. And then we'll open it up for questions. Is there any questions out there? Joel, Mark?
I think you guys did such a wonderful job that there aren't very many questions that we haven't been able to handle in the background. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Pierre.
Yeah. I also
Thank you, guys.
wanted to remind everyone, Neil referenced it in the beginning, I dropped a link in the chat for past episodes of past seasons of these weekly workshops. And there's actually one that we did, what was it, last season or the season prior, that does a full deep dive on the actual installation of the water valve. So you may want to check that out by clicking on the link.
Yep, but we just got a good question in, Scott, who just popped in. So how would this integrate or learn into the Power Series or Power Series Pro?
So a couple ways. Pierre, why don't you take the keypad programming, and then we can also talk about the app.
Well, I think the key would be that it has to have an Alarm.com Z-Wave, Alarm.com communicator with Z-Wave.
Yes. Sorry, I guess we need that piece. I guess that integration with Alarm.com. So the TL880 will integrate with the Z-Wave.
And then it just learns like any other Z-Wave device. And then you can associate your rules from Alarm.com the exact same as on the IQ series.
Correct.
Yeah, it could be learned from the mobile tech app. It learns very well. I tried it, and it's an easy one. Just scan the easiest way, I think, is just scan the QR code you have in the box with the mobile tech app, and that's that works really well.
Okay, so there's another question that needs clarification. Can we add Power G water sensors to the same valve? So you're not actually adding the sensors to the valve, right? You're adding the Power G water sensors or flood sensors to the system, and then you're associating the rules to the water valve. So we just wanted to make sure that was clear for everybody.
Thanks for going back to that slide there if you guys want to show the two kits.
You want to show the kits? Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
No problem.
All right, well, it looks like we've got, is there a way to use the system without the Alarm.com module? Not on a Power Series Neo or Pro, because you need the Z-Wave functionality, right? On an IQ panel, you know, the Alarm.com module along with the Z-Wave is built directly.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, we need the integration with that Z-Wave connection.
All right, there's a few questions on the torque. I think we'll take those offline. I don't think it's on the side of the box, right? With the power of the torque.
It was
on the box.
8 Newton per meter. We look at
strong. It's strong. We can tell you that.
Oh, yeah,
Newton
I can
meter.
tell you it's really strong.
Yeah.
Up to 8 NMs.
Yep.
Newton per meter.
Is that first gear on a Harley?
Well, yeah, I don't know where they came up with that NM, but it sounded good, so we're using it. Pierre had to translate it for me into English.
Andrew just had a question, wondering if I could connect an external contact to an external switch to enable a sump pump. That's a great question. I don't know.
So,
Well, one thing you can do.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, no worries. So one thing you can do is this is rated for outdoor use. So there are certain areas, especially the US, where sprinkler systems and other components can be shut off. And so that IP66 rating that you see on the screen right now will handle that. But a sub pump enablement, yeah, we'll have to do some research for you there, Andrew, and get back to you, definitely.
Well, you could have one Z-Wave switch probably flipping another Z-Wave switch. Probably a way.
There was a question about plastic valve handles, and I would assume the concern there would be the amount of torque that it can provide. Will that handle potentially break? So I guess, yeah, that's another plumber question, unfortunately, and we're trying to talk about this in the no plumber required world. So Joseph, I'll get back to you on that one as well.
Okay, and then one person, Donald, had a question: could this be used as standalone without an alarm panel? You could. There is the ability to wire a flood sensor directly into the module. It has the capability for one, but you could then just tap the button to turn it on or off. But that flood sensor would trip it. There is that availability on it. It's not something that we've been pushing. We're pushing for the integration part and having it all rules based. And Charles had a question: are there CEUs attached to these webinars? No, there is not, but it is something that we are looking into, is to be able to do CEU credits for these. All right, looks like we got all the questions. So, again, thanks everybody for the time today. Great job, Scotty, Pierre. And please, when this webinar ends, there is an after workshop survey. We would love to get your feedback on ideas you'd love to see for future workshops as well. And we will let everybody have 1 minute back in their day. And we thank you again for your attendance, and we will see you hopefully next week.
Thank you, everyone.
thanks all.